Hi everyone, it's Sarah again, reporting to you live from outside the chemistry building here at Valparaiso University. Today, I have big news on recycling plastics here in Porter County. But, my goodness, today's looking cloudy and gray and it's just such a bad day and oh my gosh, it's a plastic storm! Ah! Oh, well now that we are away from that storm, it's time to get into the real breaking news that you do not want to miss. Recycling your plastics just got a whole lot simpler here in Porter County, with this guide here telling you everything that you need to know. What you may have believed about recycling plastics has changed, and now we are recycling by shape. If your plastic container is a bottle, jar, jug, or tub, it is able to be recycled. Anything else must be thrown away, and that includes those clamshell containers that your fruit or salad greens come in, which means you should try to avoid these as much as possible. Now I know what you all are thinking. Recycling plastics isn't as reliable as I thought if I can't recycle all plastic materials. And we agree, but there are a lot of limitations for recycling plastics. Consumers are often made to think that recycling plastics is a straightforward task, but in truth, it poses significant challenges. The process can be costly, not every type of plastic can be recycled, and many plastics are often improperly recycled. This is called wish cycling, referring to the act of placing non-recyclable items into recycling bins. This is driven by the mistaken belief that recycling can address all environmental issues. And I know you all here in Porter County are not so easily fooled. We cannot rely on recycling to solve the plastic pollution problem. We need to change the way that we use plastics for a sustainable future. Alternative habits can be swapping your single-use plastics for reusable options, refusing plastic bags, cups, and other single-use plastics, advocating for local policies and laws that limit plastic production, and also helping educate those around you on the harmful impacts of plastics on the environment and our own human health. To continue this story, I'm going to pass it over to my co-anchor, Julie Peller, who is also a full-time professor of chemistry here at VU and who studies plastics, in particular, the small pieces. Over to you, Julie.
Thank you, Sarah, for informing people that we cannot rely on recycling as the solution to the plastic waste problem. What we have also learned is that all plastic materials release very small particles of plastic, what we term micro or nanoplastics, although some much more than others. Most of these are too small to see. Additionally, plastics contain thousands of chemical additives that are released under different conditions. Scientific evidence is building that exposures to these particles and chemicals leads to negative health outcomes. Just this past month, a breakthrough study showed that the brains of deceased people contain significant amounts of plastic, considerably more than other organs. In this case, they studied the kidney and the liver. Another finding was that the brains of those who died before the doubling of plastic production over the past 20 years contained much less plastic than those who recently passed. The question then becomes, how do we reduce our exposures to plastic? Well, research shows that we consume tiny particles of plastic from the foods and drinks that are in plastic containers. A very scientifically rigorous study determined that for each liter of bottled water consumed, about 250,000 plastic particles are ingested. We also breathe in micro and nanoplastics, and so much of our textiles, from clothing to carpet, are made of plastic such as polyester and nylon. I will reiterate some of Sarah's suggestions. Choose reusable, non-plastic products whenever possible. Refuse single-use plastics. Engage lawmakers in conversations to create laws and policies that ultimately reduce plastics, and pay attention to the materials you purchase and use. Avoid fast fashions that are primarily plastic clothes, and choose longer-lasting clothes and materials made from natural products. Back to you, Sarah.
Thanks so much for all of that information, Julie. Now we all have a few ideas as to how we can end our plastic usage. And remember, recycle using the jug, tub, bottle, and jar method for plastics. And reach out to us if you have any questions or comments. We can only end the plastic storm together.